Welcome to another episode of Wellness Curated. As you know, my aim with this podcast is to help you lead a healthier, happier, more hopeful life. And I do so by giving you tips, tools, and techniques from all over the world. This season, we're going to delve into the fascinating world of nutrition and food and the impact that it has on our health. Today's episode is going to discuss the importance of hydration. For that today, we have Singapore-based nutritionist Sheeba Majmudar. Welcome to the show, Sheeba. Thanks so much for being here and for making time to do this with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And so let's jump right into our questions.
Absolutely.
So we know the obvious benefits of hydration, right? Like on skin, on health, on focus. Tell us one surprising benefit. And also, what are the dangers of dehydration?
Right. So actually, a surprising benefit, which may not be an instant one, is that you're actually anti-aging when you're well hydrated. In fact, when people are older, they're actually predictably more dehydrated. So, in essence, that if you're well hydrated, you actually remain fitter and younger. Your cells are kind of kept alive.
Okay, I better drink lots of water then.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me, what are some of the dangers of dehydration?
So actually, most people don't know they're dehydrated. And to be honest, that's 99% of the people that I see, right? And I'll talk about that later, but there are ways to measure it. So most people actually, unfortunately, don't know that they're dehydrated. So there's no real signs that, okay, there's going to be a flip, you've got a headache. That's obvious, right? When you've already got the headache. But the only thing I could say is that you actually may feel tired, right? But danger is like when you're talking about where it's a medical condition already, right? So, but typically when you're looking at that extreme, you could faint, you could even just collapse, right? So that's the extreme. But in between that is a little bit harder to tell. And that's why you can be dehydrated through the day and not know it. That's a bigger danger.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And when you're talking about through the day, so typically people say drink about 8 glasses of water a day. But then this is so widely debated because there's different levels of exercise, there's different climatic conditions, there's different weight. So tell us what you think. What is a good average to give people?
So there are two parts to that answer, actually. One is that, yes, you're looking at doing about a liter per 20 kilos of body weight. So
yes,
back to the first question, that most people don't even know that they're dehydrated, even though they may be drinking 3 liters a day.
So you're saying about 1 liter per 20 kilos of body weight should help.
Yes.
But you also made a really interesting statement. You said you could be dehydrated even though you're drinking 3 liters a day. So will you explain that?
Right. So the deeper question is not how much water you're drinking. It's actually how much water is reaching the cells.
Is being absorbed by the cells. Okay.
Exactly. And that is the key here. And what people don't really know is that hydration or drinking water is not just about the act. It's really about the water having that electrical charge so that it is bioavailable, so that it is absorbed by the cells, because the cells, they actually need a charge so that it can actually absorb the nutrients or the water. Basically, for water to get in, it needs to have a mild electrical charge. And that's the only way it actually kind of moves into the cell. Otherwise, it remains in what is known as the extracellular matrix, which is outside of the cell. So for water to be bioavailable and move into the cell, that electrical charge is important. And how you charge the water that's not so important. So it could be through electrolytes. It could be through you're putting it through a kind of a special filter that ionizes the water, right? It could be that you put a little bit of lemon in it. So there are different things that can activate, what I call activate the water, to have a mild charge. And once that's done, then it's easier for the body to absorb it. Otherwise, the body has to use a lot more energy to do the same thing. So a lot of times that when you drink water, it kind of passes. So one classic way of being able to tell if you're mildly dehydrated even is if you're, getting a headache in and out sometimes, randomly maybe. It could be that, you've got water retention. That could be chronic. It could be in and out as well. It could also be that when you are, when you go for a massage and the masseuse tells you that, hey, you've got these tight knots, you're actually really tight, and they'll even probably tell you're dehydrated. If you have oily skin or if you have dry skin, right, despite whatever you may be doing. So these are some classic signs of the cellular dehydration I'm talking about, because water, typically 2/3 of the water that the body is absorbing through the gut, it actually goes into what is known as the lymphatic pathways. And these, the lymph system, it does a whole lot other than transport nutrients and hormones and fats. It also transports the water. But when these pathways are jammed, and why would they be jammed? If you've got an infection, for example, if you have a whole lot of toxins as well, right? There could be other reasons. But if these lymphatic pathways are jammed, then you'll find that water isn't quite getting to where it needs to go. So it's not as simplified as like just drinking water and you're hydrated.
Okay. And tell me, typically, should you be drinking water when you're thirsty? Can you use that as a mark of the fact that your body requires water?
Right. So that's a good question. And most people would assume that to be true. But that's not, because when you are in a state of dehydration, your body goes into two paths. One is it's so thirsty that even when you're drinking water, you're still thirsty. So that's not a great sign either. But it could also be that your thirst mechanism has switched off. So you don't even feel thirst, even though your body may need water, because the signal has been going on for so long, it's lost. It's no longer making an impact. So you don't even realize you're thirsty. So I wouldn't go with that at all. I would just say that you really need to kind of just get a very simple bioimpedance test done to know if you're cellularly hydrated or not.
A bioimpedance test.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very simple thing. It's a microcurrent that, a lot of people are using it on their weighing scales. So you do have a slightly more sophisticated kind of a weighing scale, which kind of can group your muscle mass and body fat and water as well. So then that simple thing can give you an indication whether you're hydrated or not. And most people are actually very surprised that even though they're drinking water, it's actually not showing in the way they are actually processing. Yeah.
And again, you had said if you are dehydrated at a cellular level, use a charge in your water like lemon or like an electrolyte, correct?
Yes. So even if, in fact, when you do feel thirsty, it may be a bit blurred in the sense that you're actually feeling, oh, I need to eat some fruit, or I need to eat something sweet, or I need to eat something salty. Why? Because they all impart a charge on the water. And fruits and fresh vegetables, uncooked, they all carry natural organic water. So that's why when you, for example, have a juice, that can be, even more hydrating than water, or more satisfying, I would say, than water could be, right? So that's why it's a little bit tricky where we're like, oh, okay, we're feeling hot, we're in a tropical climate, let's drink coconut water. That's why you'd probably reach out for those kind of drinks, because they are better hydrating.
Okay. And tell me, if I exercise a lot, do I need to drink more water to replace the electrolytes in my body?
So that's actually a given that you would want to do that, irrespective of whether you're exercising or not. But yes, when you are sweating it out, definitely you want to put in electrolytes. But when I say electrolytes, I'm a bit fearful, because I really don't like people reaching out for those kind of, bottled drinks, colored and, preserved. So we're not talking about that. The most natural electrolyte is coconut water, right? But it could even be, like we said, it could be something with a little bit of fruit. It could be a little bit of honey in the water. That's actually giving it that charge, like we mentioned. So it could be anything that you even create at home that can be simple and usable post-workout, or even just through the day. It could even be a herbal tea, actually. Yeah. And that's why the ancient way was always to drink lots and lots of tea during the meal, after the meal, right through the day, right? So the Chinese and all the Eastern philosophies believed in drinking tea. Yeah.
And you're talking a lot about fruit. So tell me, for people who consume quite a lot of fruit, and maybe drinks like the juices and
Yeah.
things like that, should they reduce their intake of water? Or can they reduce their intake of water?
So again, what is the water you're drinking? When we talk about plain water that's not charged, it's still not doing much. So it doesn't matter. I think if you're drinking the charged water, then you can have kind of a breakup where, suppose you're supposed to drink 8 glasses of charged water a day. Yes, you could drink 7, right? Because you've got your electrolytes through another source. So that would make sense. But if you're just talking about what I call dead or plain water versus that, no, there's no comparison.
Okay, so let's get into the possibility of overhydration. So, people go to all these spas and they come back and they're just gulping liters and liters of water in a day. So what are the signs that your body's overhydrated? And could that have some negative effects?
Yes, it's actually very rare to have water toxicity. There is something that's called water toxicity, where you've drank so much water that the kidneys can't process it as quickly as you've drank. So yes, that does happen. It's 1 in a million that can happen. But the whole point of drinking water, because some people do tell me, oh, is it okay if I drink my 2 liters in within half an hour, right? The body doesn't work like that. It needs hydration through the day, intermittently, spaced out, because water is something that is flushed out, right? We know that, which is why it needs to be replenished as well at intervals of time through the day.
And how does hydration affect the likes of digestion, mental health, metabolism?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question, because water is required by all our trillion cells. So just simply put, it's from head to toe. And imagine that all of your cells are literally like a toilet bowl. And imagine a toilet bowl and you're trying to flush and there's just not enough water for you to flush. Oh my God, that is pretty much of a disaster happening, right? And imagine all your trillion cells with that disaster, where they don't have enough water to flush out the cells. That's a lot of toxic oxidative stress happening to every single cell in your body. And that becomes not only accelerated aging, but that becomes a bit of a toxic situation. So when you are actually moving water, there's enough water in the cells, you're going to find that it's cleaning it out exactly like it should, like a toilet bowl. And as the cells clean out, you find that there's a vibrancy in the cells, right? It's clean again. And that's what we want.
Could the long-term consequences of dehydration, can you talk about those? Could bad breath be one of those?
Well, actually, no. People do. That's a misconception that bad breath is caused by dehydration. In fact, bad breath is caused by low stomach acid. So if your stomach isn't in great shape, digestion isn't great, you're going to have bad breath. So no, those two are not really related. But the dangers of dehydration in the long term, it it can even mean chronic water retention. And I've had pretty much all my clients with, lifestyle diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, those kind of things, even insulin resistance, um, uh, all have chronic long-term cellular dehydration. So yes, it can lead to chronic diseases and inflammation factors, because when water isn't getting in, that oxidative stress is creating inflammation of some kind. And chronic inflammation basically could lead to any disease. That's what disease is defined as, actually, as chronic inflammation in the body.
And tell me, Sheeba, you said that you have a lot of clients who are on, say, who have diabetes or blood pressure or insulin resistance, who have chronic dehydration. So do you advise them then to charge the water and drink it?
Exactly. So they actually
and that makes a difference? That helps?
In fact, every one of your audience can actually try it for the day. If they're charging the water in whatever way that suits them, right? It could be something inexpensive. It doesn't have to be something expensively done in the market. And when you're drinking that through the day, you'll find that it's kind of like you've switched on the batteries in your body. And every cell has a battery. So all your trillion cells will kind of light up because they've got that electrically charged water. So you will feel an immediate sense of energy, which otherwise you may not. So it's very interesting. It's a very simple experiment that can be done at home. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do that today, and I will report back to everyone tomorrow.
Yes.
And you're saying just maybe put 1 lemon or something into a liter of water?
It could be a lemon. It could be, depending on, I think you had mentioned this earlier, asked me earlier, depending on the season. If you think it's hot, you can even put a little bit of honey or something sweet, right? Like honey, and that's fine. And drink that, because that is more hydrating, right? Or it could, if you're in a cooler climate or colder climate, it could be just some lemon that you've put in the water, right? Anything you add to the water, either in terms of a fruit or in terms of a herb or in terms of the sweetness factor, but lightly, as in naturally sweet, all that will work to charge the water.
And also, to clarify, you're saying to me that people who are on medication don't necessarily need more water, they need charged water. Is that correct?
Correct. Because I've actually had clients where they've actually reduced their diabetes and blood pressure medication when I recommended them charged water. And when they were doing it just for, like, I'm talking about literally in a week, they could actually not only feel the difference, but they had to correct their medication.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That sounds fascinating. I'm definitely trying this today. And I'd recommend to everyone who's out there to try it, because it can't harm you. Yeah. Also, Sheeba, tell me, would you recommend water from a tap or bottled water? Because, of course, water from the tap can be contaminated. But with bottled water, there's all this danger of plastic and chemicals.
Yes, actually, both are a concern. And again, to go back and reiterate the point that both are dead water, technically. And I don't care. Bottled water comes in many forms. They say it's oxygenated water, there's alkaline water, there's so many waters. So my point is, yes, please try and use a glass container. I do prefer that versus the plastics. But also, again, if you're buying water, charge it. It doesn't matter. In some way or some form, charge it. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
And what about things like copper? You know how in India people
Yes,
drink water out of copper containers?
exactly. So, Anshu, that's a different thread. But unfortunately, I find that most people, again, this is because I'm seeing clients professionally and assessing their nutritional intake, finding that chronically everyone is low in zinc, which is a very critical mineral that we need. And zinc, interestingly, is antagonistic to copper. So the more copper you have, the lower your zinc. And the more zinc you have, then it kind of balances out the copper. All right. So I find that copper, drinking from copper jugs and all that is not necessarily the best way to go, because it is in some way pushing or lowering down your zinc. And while copper may have some benefits, that kind of ionic copper from the jug actually is very, very difficult to absorb by the body. It can't be. You need an organic form of copper, not the one that's from the directly from the metal, so to speak. Yeah. So I would actually advise people not to do that. And actually, I do advise a lot of my Indian clients not to do that. Yeah. And I get them to top up with their zinc instead.
Okay. So, like, have zinc tablets.
Yeah, the right kind. And unfortunately, copper has its dangers as well. When there is excess, digestion can go off. You can have aches and pains, muscular aches and pains. It can even feed infections and stuff. So know what you're
So, not
doing.
copper one.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that route.
So you've been recommending glass containers, from what I understand.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And tell me about Kangen water, alkaline water, oxygenated water. There's all these kinds of waters available, right?
Yes. So actually, again, it's all for the same reason, that it creates an electrical charge. I really don't know the quality of oxygenated water in a bottle. It would react with the plastic. Let me tell you that for sure. If it's charged, it would. As simple as that. So I wouldn't get anything from a plastic. But restructured water is the most intensely charged electric water. So Kangen water
What is
is that, by the way. Kangen.
okay.
That
Okay.
is,
Okay.
that's right. So Kangen water is restructured water, and it is because they use multiple platinum plates, that water comes out supercharged, not charged, but supercharged. And when it's supercharged, it can stay that way for up to 3 days, right? So even if it's kept in a jug, it's still charged. So that's the advantage of a Kangen water filter.
And when someone's sick and they're told to have more fluids, are we talking about more water? Are we talking about more charged water? What are we talking about here?
Right. So it's again going back to the same concept, that you want to have fluids because A, it's easy to digest. Number two, all the nutrients are carried in the fluid form, which is easily bioavailable to the body. Right. And that could even be, it could be juice, it could be soup, it could be broth. All that carries a lot of nutrients where the body doesn't have to spend a lot of time digesting. Right. So, which is why fluids are the best way. And that's why they say chicken soup, right? For the soul, and chicken soup when you're not well and things like that. But it could be simple. It could even be just rice water, right? As in starch. I've actually got some of my clients who've got a bit of gut issues or diarrhea, or children with diarrhea. I just get them to drink some of the, the boiled rice water, the starch that's left. I tell them, don't throw it, just drink it. And even that can be so soothing and healing for the gut. So yeah, there could be different ways, but yes, it doesn't have to be water. In fact, Unfortunately, when you're not well, water may not even be sitting well with you. You may even throw it up. So you want something that is a little bit, that has some taste and flavor.
Okay. And would you say the same thing for mental health issues as well? Like if someone's going through anxiety, would you say the same thing?
Exactly. So, our nervous system, um, it's the first one to detect any kind of stress, whether it's a physical stress, whether you're talking about a mental stress, or whether you're talking about a biochemical stress. And dehydration is the first stress, actually, because all our
Very
cells need
interesting.
water. Yeah, because all our cells need water. We can't function at our optimal, right? If you're functioning, like say you've got a car and that's running at gear 2, it's still going to take you from point A to point B. So it's okay, but no, the peak performance of a car, or the optimal performance, I would say, for the car is gear 3, gear 4. So every time the body is dehydrated, it is one gear down, from 4 to a 3, 3 to a 2, and 2 to 1, which is why athletes, pro athletes, they all know this. And they all drink some kind of electrically charged water, because even when they're slightly dehydrated, it changes their game. It changes their performance. It changes their peak state. So they know this. So yeah, they have ways of actually improving hydration. So yes, anxiety is definitely one, and anything to do with the nervous system, I would say. So even sleep, even, performance, all of that. Yeah, all mental states would go.
And let's talk about, sometimes people mistake thirst for hunger. So very often people will be snacking when they're actually thirsty. Or like you said, people reach out for fruit when their body is actually asking out for water. So how do they check that habit?
I think it's about just getting the body better hydrated on a regular basis. So all those listening in, now they know what to do. So if they start doing that, they're going to find that their body signals are not getting crossed. Not only are they better hydrated, but they're going to reach out for electrolytes at the right time, fruit at the right time, and water at the right time.
Okay. And on the subject of habits and good habits, people say that drinking 2 glasses of water first thing you wake up is a good habit. What do you think?
Yes, so that's a good question, because I do see people trying to inculcate that habit. And again, I would just say that there are a couple of things that you can do. One is definitely charge your water in some way so that you're getting a better deal out of it. If you're drinking 2 glasses in the morning, some people say that when they drink water, it helps flush out, and they actually have better bowel movements in the morning. So if that helps, definitely go for it. I actually even tell some of my clients that in order to improve or jumpstart your body pH, um, do a little bit of either lemon water, or some people even do lemon honey. But I actually prefer just apple cider vinegar in a big glass of water. It could be 500 ml, it could be 250 ml, whatever works. And down that, and you'll find that what it's doing is, it's actually first thing in the morning, it's going in to correct your body pH. Slightly different. It's not about just pure hydration. It's more about correcting the body pH at the same time. So that will also help.
Okay, thank you, Sheeba. Now, at the end of every session, we summarize everything through a rapid fire round. So the first question is, one common misconception about hydration.
That the moment you're orally hydrated, you're done. Not true.
Okay. One little known symptom about dehydration.
The act of craving for anything salty, sweet, is also a form of dehydration.
Very applicable to me. How much water should a person drink on an average?
So it's about how frequent you need to drink water. It's not just about how much, as we had stated earlier. So you want to try and drink as per your body weight. So 20 kilos, 1 liter, but that needs to be spaced out through the day, not in bursts and shots. Yeah.
And one drinking habit you'd advise us to work on developing.
So charge your water. Any form that suits you, charge your water. And don't get sold by all these marketing gimmicks about alkaline water and so on. No, no, no. Just charge it and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is going to be my biggest takeaway from today is charging the water. Thank you, Sheeba, for that incredible chat and for taking the time out to be with us.
Absolutely. Most welcome.
We've had such an incredible chat, and I hope it's going to make a difference to all our listeners' lives. And to my listeners, I hope you learned something new. I did for sure. And I hope we brought you a little closer to leading a healthier, happier life. If you did enjoy the show, please encourage your friends and family to subscribe to the channel. Please press like. And most of all, do get in touch with me and let me know if you have any questions. My email is anshu@wellnesscurated.life. Thank you so much. See you next week.